It's launch week for DxO PureRAW version 5. Now, if I look confused in this video, it's because that's the truth. I'm making this video on Monday. It comes out tomorrow. I've had access to the beta for 3 days, so I am still somewhat confused. I haven't exhaustively tested it. I haven't broken it yet, which is a nice change of pace for me. But I'm going to cover some of the major features that are most interesting to me, and if there's things I've missed, I'll do those in a future video. Now, if you're not familiar with PureRAW, it's a raw file processing utility that does a few things. It does denoising using machine learning. It can correct for optical flaws in your lenses using DxO's profiles from their laboratories. Very cool. It can do demosaicing, so compensating for some of the weird effects caused by Bayer sensor layouts. But it also, in this version, has renewed support for Fujifilm X-Trans sensors, which have a different pixel layout. They're less prone to mosaicing problems, but it does support those again. This is where some of the confusion comes in, because there are now 3 machine learning models in this version. 2 of them seem to support X-Trans sensors, one of them more than the other. It's a little bit perplexing, but we're going to look at that. I've got some of my own photos from an X-H2S that I used to own before I broke it, and thanks to my dad, I've got some photos from an X-T3 and an X-T1 as well, so we'll have a look at a few of those and see how it works. I've got a few other examples as well that I'm personally interested in. This new version has support for handling some chromatic aberration inside of the machine learning process in the Deep Prime 3 model. And my Nikon Z180-600 in particular suffers from blue fringing. Does it improve that? I'm curious to find out. Let's give it a go. I haven't tested it yet, so we'll find out. And I even have some photos from an older camera, because I made a video recently on the Nikon D300S, 15-ish year old DSLR. Does it improve those photos in a noticeable way? That's where I think this sort of software is most useful, is improving older cameras, and especially in higher ISO situations. It's very, very effective for wildlife photography in particular. That's my use case for it. I don't think it's the world's most useful thing for things like landscapes, to be honest, because you know, mountains don't move so much. You could just shoot them at a lower ISO. Anyway, let's get on and have a look at some examples. But if during the course of this video you think, yes, I must buy it, well, there's a free trial available, so you can follow this affiliate link to go and do that. If you don't like me, you don't have to follow it, but you know, it helps the channel out. And I even have a discount code available for the first week that this video is out, because they are running an Easter bank holiday weekend promotion, as far as I know, so it's only about the first week. But the discount code will give you 20% off, which isn't to be sniffed at, any DxO piece of software, as far as I know. So I'm not too sure if there are any other limitations on it, but I very rarely have discount codes to offer, so I figured I'd mention it in the video anyway. It'll be down in the comments below and probably in the description or something. But anyway, let's go and start looking through some examples. Now, to start with, I've zoomed in quite a bit on a photo from the Nikon D300S, which I used in a recent video. So it's a 12.3 megapixel camera. It's got an older lens with older optics. Nice setup, but you can see that the quality is a bit fuzzier, I suppose, when zoomed all the way in. But this is where this software really does help lengthen the lifespan of these cameras, because as you run it through the Deep Prime 3 setup, the Deep Prime 3 model, it doesn't make it look artificial. It just makes it look effectively more modern to my eyes. It looks more like the rendering from a modern camera. It's quite a bit sharper. It's done a really, really nice job. And you can see up the top here, on the top of the head, where there's a little bit of a glow from some blue fringing. It's quite subtle on this setup, but you can see that it has removed that, and that's what we're going to look at next. Now, one of the new features in Deep Prime 3 is its chromatic aberration correction, and it actually handles that as part of the conversion now. That's very interesting to me, because my Nikon lens does suffer from that, as I already said. So let's look at a comparison down here on this duck. We'll start with XD2S, which is what's in Photolab 8 at the moment. And you can see that, well, once it processes it, is a little bit slower, that model, than the Deep Prime 3. You can see that it's got this strong chromatic aberration still from this photo. It was in the original, and then as it's handled in XD2S, it becomes more pronounced because it's sort of sharpening it up. But if you swap that to Deep Prime 3, removes it entirely. It's very, very impressive. Let's see if we can get a worse photo. So here's a very zoomed in shot from another photo. This was taken on the 180-600 again. And you can see that XD2S actually emphasized blue fringing from this lens. This is the current model in use, or that I use in Photolab 8. And you can see the improvement from Deep Prime 3. It completely eradicates it. And this has me thinking now, I got rid of my 1.4 times teleconverter for the Nikon system because it was producing appalling blue fringing. Can this compensate for it? Well, let's fish out one of the photos taken with that setup. Okay, here's a photo that was taken with the 1.4 times teleconverter, and this is the original. So if we zoom in on a high contrast section, you can see how bad that blue fringing was. It's just going to lag for a second as it's reprocessing the Deep Prime XD2S version of it. But look at that. That's horrendous blue fringing. It's a problem with that setup. And when you run this through the previous versions of the models, they couldn't really compensate for it. This is with chromatic aberration compensation turned on. Don't even know if it affects it if you turn it on or off, to be honest. Oh yeah, it's even worse, I think. It's so strong that it's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, it does actually improve it, but that's irrelevant if you swap to Deep Prime 3. Look at the job it's done of it. That's phenomenal. And it's actually making me regret getting rid of the teleconverter. I mean, I had no idea that this was going to come out, but it actually compensates for a serious optical flaw from that setup to the point where I would consider that viable to shoot again. You can see all of this yellow fringing here as well, yellow and blue fringing. It's all over the place on that setup, and it has completely removed it. That's an incredible job. Next up, we're going to take a look at one of my dad's photos on the Fujifilm X-T1. This is quite an old camera now, actually, but I'm very impressed by the quality of this photo. This is at 3200 ISO, and the noise is really nice, actually. And because it doesn't suffer from moire as much as Bayer sensor does, I think it's got quite a film-like effect as to how the noise comes out. Very interesting. We're going to run it through this anyway. And we'll look at the effects on Deep Prime 3 first, because Deep Prime 3, I think, maintains more texture in an image than the XD models do. And it's particularly obvious on sort of flat, blurred backgrounds like this. So if we zoom really far in and we look at this bit over here, maybe, you can see that as it's removed the noise, there's still a sort of a faint grain-like effect here, whereas if I swap to the XD3 X-Trans beta, you will see that removed. And I'll swap back again. You can see that that is the main difference, in my opinion. The Deep Prime 3 model seems to perform less overall sharpening, or less sort of detail recovery, which would make sense as that's their definition between the two. And it does maintain more of the texture of the noise overall. I think it does a really nice job with fur in particular. This is one of the best examples of where you'll see that effect, where you've got quite a lot of color noise in here. It's got some effects of something like moire. I don't know if it is or not, to be honest, when it comes to X-Trans sensors. There are some false color sort of things going on here. And it does a fantastic job of correcting that. It's obviously correcting for distortion as well, but it sharpens everything up really nicely. Overall, I think it's done a really nice job with this image, and I'll put the finished processed version up on the screen now. Really like how it came out once the colors are done. It's got a wonderful set of colors. Very impressed by the X-T1 in this instance. Here we have an ISO 12800 photo from my Fujifilm X-H2S that I broke. And this one going through Deep Prime 3, I think, performs really well. You can see the much stronger noise here. Again, though, high ISO noise on the X-Trans sensors, I think, is quite pleasing. It's significantly less uniform, I suppose, than other sensors tend to be. You can get some interesting grid effects on the Z9's high ISO performance sometimes, for example. But putting this through Deep Prime 3, I think is quite interesting. It does seem to perhaps lose a little bit of the detailing in the feathers. They look a little bit over smooth maybe, but you can see it's maintaining that texture that I've mentioned before up here. Being the XH2S, you don't have access to the X-Trans beta of XD3 yet. You can see how it would perform on XD2S, and you'd see it would remove more of that texture. But I think I actually want to keep that texture in, and instead what I'm going to do is turn up force details a bit and try and recover some of the detail in the feathers. That's maybe a little bit too much. Something like that. Get a little bit of the texture back in there. That's looking rather nice, and it seems to have done a really good job with this photo. It's kind of curious with the Fujifilm files. I think they do tend to look a little bit dull. Like the raw files do tend to be quite dull, and then when you process them, the colors are really quite strong. But it's done a very nice job of that. I think the head in particular, it's sharpened it up a treat, and I think that definition on the feathers up here in particular is very nice. So it's done a nice job of that. I'm curious to see how XD3 will perform in the future when it supports this latest generation of X-Trans sensors. So worst case scenarios, this is my go-to photo for testing how these models perform, because it's ISO 25600 on a micro four thirds camera, and as you can see it is appalling, but the photo itself is fantastic, so I'm loving seeing this improve over time. Interestingly, I think that the XD2S model is still the best option for this photo, so we'll zoom in and have a look at this. Deep Prime 3 does a very good job of cleaning up the bird. I really like how it looks, and it's kept some texture in the photo, but because of how noisy this photo was, I think it is actually better to turn this very painterly and then add that texture back in. And it is a little bit more prone than the XD2S model for artifacting. As you can see sort of around this area, it's not as pronounced as, say, the XD model was, which was really bad. It was actually very visually distracting. I would be perfectly happy using it like this, but if you run this through XD2S instead, it will take a little while because it is an appallingly noisy image, you'll see that it does smooth out those artifacts and give an overall better rendition, and it still maintains good detail in the bird. I would use this one and I'd add some film grain or something like that to just sort of disguise how noise reduced it is. But it does a very nice job, and that's the model I would still use in this case. But wait, this is the perfect time to try out a new feature that I haven't yet touched upon, and that is local adjustments. So if we zoom in on the problem area of this image, we can see all of this weird artifacting going on. I'm going to reduce force details on this model, and I'm going to turn it down to, I don't know, minus 30-ish. It's going to smooth it right out. So we're not getting any of those details, but it's now going to have smoothed out the bird as well, sadly. And so we're getting less sort of detail on the bird. And we can go to local adjustments, and I'm going to roughly brush in the bird. I need to turn on show mask. Just brush this in. There's no AI masking yet. I'm sure it'll come at some point, but they haven't got that in Photolab either yet. So it's only difficult for me because I'm using a trackball, because I'm, I guess, a psychopath. I don't know why I edit photos with a trackball, but anyway, turn off show mask again, and now I'm going to turn force details on this back up to the default, and it's going to reintroduce that detail back into the bird that was missing after we adjusted it. You can see as I toggle between the two, it really does just bring more detail back into that bird, and it's not reintroducing it to the rest of the image. That's really cool. It's nice to be able to smooth things out like that. This is a technique that I used to use before the advent of machine learning for denoising. I would mask an area that I wanted to denoise, and I would perform the denoising in that area differently to other areas depending on the detail I wanted. This is a really cool improvement, and I am very much looking forward to what I could use it for in the future. Well, that's it for this video on DxO PureRAW version 5. As always, do leave your comments down below, and any questions you have, I will try my best to answer them. Emphasis on try. But especially if you've got a Fujifilm camera, do go give the free trial a go and let me know how you get on. I'm really curious to know how it's improved from the previous version that you were able to use, because the previous version 4 didn't really offer you anything. So it should be a bigger upgrade for X-Trans sensor users, and I'm really curious to know your thoughts and your results. So do give it a go and let me know. Now, a quick channel update at the end of this video. If you're not subscribed to this channel and you've just watched this video, well, please do consider doing so. It helps me out a lot, and the channel has been growing quite significantly so far this year. It's, I think, double the size it was in November, and that's exceptionally useful for me. It gives me more opportunities. I get contacted by more companies with things that they want to promote, but sometimes they're interesting, and you will see occasional things from me about things that I think you would be interested in, and that sort of stuff does help support the channel going forward. Now, I've been trying to think of other ways to, well, earn money, frankly, because I don't think I mentioned it on the channel or not, but I quit my job as a software engineer last year, and I've been just doing various bits and bobs to make money ever since. But if I can make this channel more self-sustaining, well, it allows me to spend more time doing this and less time doing other things like eBaying stuff that is left over from hobbies I no longer do. Anything like that can help me make more videos. And yes, I missed the era of the internet where people just did things for free and didn't want to turn it into a job, but video editing is exceptionally time consuming. I think I've spent about 4 hours so far today recording about 5 minutes of this video, and it's not massively sustainable. So I've got some ideas for things in the future. You're never going to see dodgy ad reads from me. You're never going to see a VPN promotion from me, for example. But I've got some ideas for different things of value. So maybe some guide booklets or something like that for birds in flight. Something that you could take with you. I've got some ideas around that, and I will update you in the future if that comes to fruition, or if I just give up on it entirely, which is something that I am quite prone to be honest. But anyway, one other thing I did enable was channel memberships on YouTube. I don't like monthly subscriptions, but if you are looking for a way to support the channel and you'd like me to make more videos, I set it to £1 a month, which is about as much as I think this channel is worth, frankly. Anything more than that just feels ridiculous. You get nothing for it. I can't offer anything extra. I don't make member-specific videos. Everything's available for everyone who subscribes to this channel, but that £1 a month is significantly more than I ever make off adverts. So you don't have to do it. I appreciate everyone who subscribes anyway, but if you were looking for a way to get more videos out of me in the future, that's one way to do it. But thank you anyway, and I'll catch you next time. Do feel free to follow me over on Blue Sky as well. I'll put a link up here if you want more tech sort of updates. But otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video, which I don't even know what it's about yet. I've sort of run out of ideas this week, so I'll see you next time.